Welcome to a NoPody from NoPody Studios. Yeah, this is look, one of the things we actually are very crowd infused business, and the last all hands we met at, we had over 9,000 investors join the company through our crowdfunding campaign. But somebody was asking us, why aren't we doing a podcast called NoPody? And well, the simple answer is we had never thought about it, and that's the power of the crowd, people. When you've so many people around us innovating, coming up with great ideas, they help us come up with fun things like this. So this series will be held every week on Wednesdays. We'll have different people joining from the studio, different people hosting. But this week we've got a really special surprise guest for you, and somebody who's been hacking away in the studio only for a couple of months, but making a huge impact. So with that, I'd like to welcome Mr. Adam Bragg. How you doing, Adam?
Doing great. Yeah, thanks, Barry. Excited about being on NoPody.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah. So look, you have been a breath of fresh air coming into the studio. You're our launch manager. You look after a lot of these companies from as we're incubating them through the entire process, from the early ideas and concepts that we have right through to getting them actually stood up, funded, and out of the studio. So pretty demanding sort of role to look at, but you're doing a fantastic job and bringing lots of great energy to it. Can you share a little bit for people who probably might be meeting you for the first time, like a little bit of your background? What sort of brought you into entrepreneurship, if you will? Like what was the ticking moment for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've enjoyed the studio mainly because it's such a playground, and I think maybe that's kind of where I'll start the story. I graduated from college with a degree in history, and really everybody thinks like, what are you going to do with history? But the way of thinking as a history major, it's a very narrative driven. So it's about putting a narrative through facts. And I was a pole vaulter through school, so I was used to kind of launching myself over
Flying
bars.
through the
But
air, yeah. I love that speed. That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So while I was training for the Tokyo Games, I just got really curious about the world, figuring out how to build things and how to sell things in different industries. And I started a company with a couple of my schoolmates in 2020, and that was my first venture-backed company in education. And then I transitioned over to a venture-backed company in healthcare. I started getting really deep into technology and what it could do to at the intersection between technology, branding, and ultimately sort of social narratives and sort of like virality, and seeing what kind of like recipes can be built up there to really make products that have that sort of potential built into them. So then I started kicking a bunch of projects off myself. In the meantime, I've probably kicked off just 10, 12 different random bootstrapped projects. Most of them, besides those other two, are just kind of sitting on the shelf. And that's where I came across Nobody Studios, where I said, here's a playground, this venture studio model where we can really just play. And I started talking to Mark. I met Mark and you on a podcast that I was listening to of that you guys were talking about building the venture studio, and I said, man, this is where I want to be. This is the energy and environment that's really conducive to the kind of building I want to do. So I naturally gravitated towards the studio, and I realized that my skill set was really, really in line with being able to help companies find their place, go from 0 to 1. Really, that art of launching a startup.
Yeah, it's so funny. So many people have actually arrived to the studio via podcasts, which is, and here you are now closing that circle and starting your own. I'm sure we're going to have many people that come to the studio after listening to this show. And like to someone who's got to know you over the last couple of months, it is so true and great to see the energy you bring to things. Right, you've an insatiable passion for product development, always interesting and trying to push things and move things along. It's a joy to watch. And that energy, I think, is something that's so important in early stage startups, right? Encouraging people and to bring their best, but also you're really great at setting goals and really challenging ourselves to like seek the truth about whether the product's going to work or not. And I think it's just a great testament to some of these innovations that we've already started to see. And what we're going to talk about today, which is one of the most fun innovations I've certainly come across over the last while, CatGPT, right? And I'm sure many people might hear that and go, hang on, what did you say? Did you say ChatGPT? Or no, but this is CatGPT. And inspired by, I think some really interesting technology innovations happening in the world, with a little bit of humor and a little bit of Euro pizzazz to bring it together. So for folks who maybe have not have heard of this, please share a little bit about, what is CatGPT and a little bit of your inspiration for getting it off the ground.
Yeah, so you can imagine CatGPT as more or less an exact clone of ChatGPT, except for it's got personality behind it. So it's the exact same interface, but instead of just serving sort of a monotone and dry response from an AI that's incredibly useful, it instead serves back a cat GIF and responses with AI, but in the form of a sassy, all-knowing cat. And so there's a lot of fun and playfulness that's really baked into that product. And it all started with that feeling of like, in December of 2022, you could feel the excitement around ChatGPT and AI. I built a couple of tools with it, just wanting to say, like, what can you do with this with cold outreach? What can you do with this around sort of personalization of text messages, things that are just like the entry level. But then the thing that really was exciting was feeling the fun that could happen with ChatGPT. And people, I was looking around at people who were using it, and they were having a lot of fun in different ways. And I thought, what's more fun than dropping the H and making something that sort of is a bit of a parody, but makes people's day? Because the intersection between cats and tech and pop culture is like undeniable. The internet is ruled by cats and cat content. And so I said, there's something really fun here at the intersection between cats and AI. And it was built in a day. And the first version was just a string of meows back. There was no AI at all. It was just, meow, 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 meow. So I put it on the shelf and was like, this is fun. I showed a couple of friends. They all got a laugh out of it. And then 3 months later, my friend sent me an Instagram message that was kind of a TikTok, screen recording. And that Instagram message, not even just the TikTok, had a couple 100,000 likes on it. And the TikTok, I realized, had some random person posted like, oh guys, this is an actual thing. ChatGPT, I mistyped it and put in CatGPT, and it's real. And it got like, over 10 million impressions in 24 hours. And then it just sort of snowballed from there. Business Insider wrote about it. Tom's Guide, did some major news publications about it. And just over the last just over 2 months now, we're up close to 1 million users. So absolutely viral, and happy to talk through that. But yeah, it's a super exciting and fun product.
Oh, and fun is like such at the heart of it, right? Like, and I think when you're, people often say when you're having fun, you learn, you remember. It's a great way for people to actually like, enjoy what they're doing. And this product is fun, right? So put a link to everybody, check it out, like cat-GBT. Straight away, you go on to the site and there's like a cat just like filing its nails. Like there's everything that's great about it. But as you say, like people are using it, people are having fun with it, people are sharing it, people are doing great things. And it's one of these moments, though, as you were sort of describing, like of serendipity, a bit of insight, humor, bringing those things all together where you have that inspiration to sort of create, right? So share a little bit, like, even as you were, tell us more, even if you will, like the sort of philosophy behind that, because it's one of these things that I'm sure lots of people have ideas. They're struck by ideas and go, wouldn't it be funny? Or that's it. Why is this thing missing? But sometimes it's just hard to have the, just a natural action, if you will, to follow through and bring these things to life. And it is a philosophy, and I know it means a lot to you. So share a little bit about, like, some of your philosophies or your thinking about bringing these products to life, and why it's a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I would say it starts from value and empathy. I think that what is value and value creation, and what is value to a person other than just making their day better. And I think that there's a saying that everybody's time and money are already accounted for. So as you're building something, consider that a fact and then move around it. And so, if you can build something that actually makes somebody feel better, that actually makes somebody's day, that delights them, and it can be it can be a consumer product like CatGPT, but it can also be something that, like, as somebody's interfacing with their business suite, they get micro frustrated throughout the day on something, and you give them a solution that's, simple but delights them and fixes their problem and makes them really happy. It's if you can target that, you start with value, and then you say, like, how can I make this something interesting enough for people to share? What element of this thing rides a popular narrative to the moon? And like, really dialing down on that and using that for the marketing and for the spread and everything like that. So with CatGPT specifically, it was like, people love their cats, people love AI. And so how can we create something that, combines those two things and then allows people's imagination to run wild? So it was adding a visual element to AI with some personality. So working on the back end to create the kind of prompting that was necessary for, anybody asking any question to get the kind of, special sassy response that we wanted them to get in a conversational format with Meow the cat. And so, once we got the recipe for that right, it was almost natural that, like, virality was baked into the product. It was, I think, a matter of time before somebody said, this is really interesting, and posted it on one of the, Instagram or TikTok pages that has a, 1 million+ followers, and it caught fire.
And post it they did. Look at this, like the sassiest cat on the internet right here, filing up. And like this, it's just so fascinating to see, like, the different little steps you would have taken along the way to get this going, right? You mentioned and initially, like, the positivity and praise. Like, I just love every part of this. It's so much fun to, like, look at, like, different but other, like, very interesting things that you're baking into building out the product, like encouraging people to vote for, like, what to build next, right? So the community feel ownership of the product and its growth. So tell us a little bit about, like, just as you were sort of getting started, especially in those sort of early couple of iterations, right? Like, what, as you said, what started out was something fun that you've sort of came back to when the sort of crowd found it, if you will, and was like, wow, this is great. And suddenly, you've got, like you say, tens of thousands of people, like, flooding to this site and trying to manage the growth for that. So what after you were sort of like, oh my, look, this is amazing, this traction, like, how did you feel like you could catch that wave and make the most of it?
Yeah, well, it was it was overwhelming at first. I think that, you build something and there's a ton of projects that you can build, and it's, as much as you can build the recipe out for virality, a lot of it is luck and putting yourself in the right position to be able to capture that luck. So as it took off, we didn't even have Google Analytics hooked up to it. There was no contact us page. It ended up catching virality so fast that the servers were breaking, every few minutes. And so I'd have to sit there and manually refresh them. And then there was no load management system in place. And I didn't even know how many people were using it. I just saw that it was breaking and said,
just a lot. Yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah. So then I put Google Analytics and I said, oh, wow, there are, like, tens of thousands of people coming onto this site, every day, new people every day. And I want to capture what they want. They're obviously getting something from this. The return usership was super high. And so I put in the contact us page, got thousands of responses from people who were just, singing the praises, just also really motivational things like, thank you so much for building this. This made my day. I also learned about how people interacted with AI and why they actually used the services. Like, people were definitely using them at first for, as a joke, but then, they started actually having deeper conversations with this cat about the actual problems they were trying to solve. And that was really fun to see. And so I thought, what sort of is baked into this process of building something that gets people, that makes people's days and makes people's days better, is asking them, like, really getting an understanding what they want and what actually makes their day better. And so then you ask them, you get that feedback, and then you prioritize what to build next based on that.
Yeah, and it's, again, just as someone watching you do this, it's been great to see how committed you are to user feedback and using that to drive the next steps. As we said, even on the site, people have the opportunity to share what's the next thing they want to build, and surprise, surprise, it's AI generated cat gifs with your cat as the main character. Like, who they this. It's just like fun things, and I just love that philosophy as well of opening up the ideation to your customers to co-create with you and build a community and make that feedback loop tighter, stronger, and it propagates more. And so there's a real thought behind what you're doing. As much as a fun thing this is, it's really systematic the way you've been approaching it. And to the point now that even you've got start to have sponsors coming in, and you've been invited to the world's largest cat conference. So tell us about some of these, because this is that moment now where it's gone from, as you say, like an afternoon hacking to a virality to now, there's, as you say, 1 million people using this, to businesses now saying, wow, this is a place that I want to be associated with as this sort of product and business grows. So tell us a little bit about how you got that first sponsor, and then as you're going to be the star of the CatCon show coming up soon too as well. So tell us a little bit about, as the business side to this starts to bring itself to life.
Yeah, well, I think the emphasis on user feedback, that actually was the reason why we landed the first sort of commercial sponsor. They reached out through the contact us page and asked us, hey, is there an opportunity here for us to work together? And we've got similar missions. Let's do it. So opening up the channel to have feedback from the world actually led to that first business opportunity, and even more so to the opportunities of CatCon. And people, I think there's two big pieces here. So first of all, like, that user feedback allows you to build and prioritize things correctly. I would have thought the thing that was least voted on would have been the most exciting thing, which was like, the cat taking care of you, which I thought was genius. but people, they spoke, they want more cat gifts of their own cats, which makes total sense. But I wouldn't have gotten to that conclusion until I would have had to go build something out. And that sort of like user driven, product driven growth strategy and go to market strategies are sort of like what we're trying to do here at the studio, and really sort of imbue the entire Fruitgressive process with that type of thinking, so that we can be efficient, so that we can build things that people really get excited by. And then, on the business side, it's sort of when you tap into a really popular narrative, and that like you're building something that at least has a tangent or a lane through something that you can hit a current and get really big. All of these types of opportunities present themselves. So that's also something we're thinking about in the studio, is like, what elements of these businesses can be emphasized so that they catch traction with communities and niches that are not just niches anymore. They're like, really established groups, because the internet pulls people together, communities together from all over the world that have the same interest. And so while it might be rare for somebody to, like cats and tech in, let's say, like a small town, they can hop online and use CatGPT and join a community of 1 million other users who also love that. So it's like finding the through line, the thread through the popular narrative that then you can sort of inject your company into and sort of watch it skyrocket to different business opportunities.
Right. And I think one of the subtle points you're also making there is that you can be anywhere, right? And I think that's one of the most fascinating things about the moment that we're in, is that the technology, the internet, has connected people where if you have great ideas, if you can execute on them, and if you're willing to try and just put them out there, amazing things can happen, right? And then seeing this just sort of explode into the world is super fun. Right to the point now where we're almost at the next pinnacle of this moment, and being a headliner at CatCon. I'm sure that's something that was on your bucket list growing up as a 2 or 3 year old. Tell us a little bit about how you've been drawn into this other huge world of industry now, as the popularity of this product and its awareness continues to grow, and more people, like you're starting to extend this business around it and grow into this business. So share a little bit more about what CatCon's about and how that opportunity has sort of arisen.
Yeah, well, it's the largest cat conference in the world. It's an intersection.
In the planet, right? On the planet.
On the planet. It's in Los Angeles. It's coming up in a month, and it's the intersection between cats and pop culture. and they've done just an excellent job building this out. And one of the things that is the pretty lady at the table of the moment is AI, and it's AI and cats. The intersection of that is like, great, let's put it into a conference. They reached out through the sponsor actually of CatGPT. So had this idea that there could be a theme here for CatCon in 2023, and we're working with them now to pull it into play. And just generally, it's the speed with you spoke a bit about it, but the speed at which you can sort of actualize something, put it into market, test whether or not it has the electricity is like it's super important. And like, because the faster you can do that, the more you feel allowed to act on the deeper, more intuitive, the more intuitive instincts you have about what might make a product good. I think that if we all it's the same thing as humor, right? It's like something deeper that's more intuitive, that you sort of understand. And so we're all human. We all sort of experience human problems. And if we can more quickly test some feeling that you have, like, this would be really funny, this would be really useful to build, this thing could change a lot of lives, and then you can build the first version of it in a day or two and test it out and then see if it has that electricity, and then move on to the next one. The more at bats you get, the more play you get. And like, ultimately being able to do that at a venture studio is super useful because you have the infrastructure and the people who know how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a gift that we have here at NoPody Studios, is that that's pretty much our jobs now, is to go wake up every day, have crazy ideas, and actually see if we can make them real, and it's a special opportunity to do something like that, as you say, and great opportunities as well to sort of engage people in this. So maybe for folks who are sitting there listening and going, right, I've always had these ideas, but I've never been able to like put them out there or get the traction on them, like, what encouragement would you share with them, just as they sort of start their own journeys, if you will, to sort of start to bring their ideas to life?
First thing I would say is just, it's free to talk about. You can talk about the ideas that you have to everybody. I think to the point of everybody's time and money is already accounted for. Like, you shouldn't be too worried that somebody's going to steal your idea, because execution is sort of the big elephant in the room. Everybody, there's a ton of great ideas, but who executes, who actually does the thing? And so, people already are doing their own things. And so it's really great to get free feedback from people. So just tell people your idea, see what elements of it pique their interest the most, really listen to hearing like what connects with them. Then you can get a better sense of what to build. And then the first build is I have a paper sheet of a drawing of CatGPT. I literally said, this is the GIFs, this is the responses, and I just drew it out and showed a couple of people and said, check this out. What does this look like? What more would you want? You want random GIFs? How big do you want the GIFs to be? Just trying something out and bringing it out of the imagination in your mind and into the real world. And then, it depends on if you're technical or if what kind of skill sets you have, but really finding the environments around you to where you can make that thing happen fast and get it out into market. Like, one of the sayings we have is, in launch at NoPody Studios is like, welcome to launch. It's sort of like Fight Club, first day of launch, it's time to launch, go do the thing. And so, like that, maybe finding those environments where people are placing the emphasis on you to actually start and do things, and not just sort of play house and like build a business without actually building the product or building the thing to try out and test, is a good place to start. NoPody Studios, I'll sort of name drop here, but is a great place for you to come with your ideas and sort of place them into the funnel and say, I would like to build this. I need some support, some infrastructure, and some insight, and maybe the network to be able to do it. So that's a good place to start.
Right on. Yeah, that's the dream, And as you say, if it's your first day in launch, you launch, and I just love that sort of, again, encapsulation of a philosophy, right? Of encouraging people to put stuff out there. It's a fabulous time in our industry where, whether you're able to code, where you can learn to code, there's so many tools that even if you don't have a technical background, you can start to prototype and ship and put things out there. And I think, as you say, the studio is just a place where we welcome those types of people who want to want to build, who want to bring their ideas to life. And if they don't have everything they need, that's what we're there to help them do it. And I think it's just a great way to go about it. So looking ahead then, with CatGPT, what are you most excited about? Like, as I say, we continue to look at this fantastic backlog that's already been generated for you. So, there's plenty of work to do. There's no doubt about that. And I'm sure there's even more on this list of items that people want to work on. But for you personally, what are some of the things you're most excited for as you look ahead and, continuing to build out this product in the studio?
Yeah, I think that there's a ton of offshoots that come out from sort of the underlying experiments and the sort of technical rails that are being built out with CatGPT. I think we'll have an SMS iMessage to CatGPT out pretty soon where people don't even need to log on. They'll have their cat gifts right in their pocket in their iMessages. So that's one. Another one is just sort of the idea of themed chats generally. I think that they're enamored by ChatGPT and other LLMs and sort of the ability to get information very quickly, but there's magic in creating some charisma and layering on some personality on top of those responses. So brands are really interested in creating their own kind of personalized, character-driven chat environments for movies that are coming out, or popular characters and brands and mascots and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities to use the tech that exists at CatGPT to usher in a more sort of charisma-driven AI ecosystem. So there's that, and there's just a ton of things where from the internal build of CatGPT, we can expand out into the studio. And my goal, obviously, is to make CatGPT something that every cat lover can use and is actually useful for them. But ultimately, I want to bottle this up, the learnings from CatGPT, systematize it, and then be able to put every new founder through that process to say, you've got a really great idea. Now let's find the electricity in it. Let's build the product around that electricity, and let's take it off together.
Yeah, no, it's super how you're thinking about systematizing this straight off the bat and helping other people go through, learn from what you've learned. And there's never anything wrong with bringing more charisma to the internet, because it can be a very cold and automatic response place. And I think you've done something phenomenal here with CatGPT to sort of lighten up and also recognize the technology innovation that happens and making it a fun, engaging place to be. All right, so Adam, look, it's been great to have you on the show. There's fantastic work stuff going on. I'm sure we're going to hear lots more. I'm looking forward to bringing you back on the NoPody in a couple of months' time again to share more twists and turns that have happened, both with CatGPT, but also what we're doing in the studio and all the other great companies we're working on launching together. So, yeah, thanks for sharing, and let us know how you get on CatCon. If anyone's going, please look you up while you're there. Will you be there in person, especially?
Yeah, I'll be there in person. So come on and hang out and build your AI models with me. So that's kind of we're excited about that, and thank you for having me on here. I think I'll maybe take a quick second to say, if you're a builder or a founder or an entrepreneur, I want to build with you. Let's launch something really viral together. Come check out NoPody Studios, and it's a great team here. So come launch with us.
Right on. All right. Take care, everyone.